talk about, we're trying to promote the idea of seeing positive things in other people and celebrating diversity. The second week, it was about aspiring to do great things. Last week, speak, act, and listen with kindness. And this week, we're asking each of you to sort of lead the change. It's so easy all the time to think, boy, if life was better, if life was different, or if something was different. This week, and through the rest of the school year, I want you to pay attention to what you can change with yourself. Tyler, who's behind me here, has worked very hard this year. He's a junior in high school. He came through Wilson Middle School. He's worked very hard to promote positive changes. He's taken a step towards being the change that he wants to see in the world. I'm going to let him talk about his Eagle Scout project and the inspiration for it. And then we're going to play this video that he made. Which, again, this took him since last June, I think.
Yeah, it's been 1 year.
For it to come together. Well, I guess that's about it. Let's welcome him with a polite applause. He's a very hard worker, and he put together a really fantastic video, and he's here to talk to you guys about that. Oh, so about your message and your inspiration for this.
So yeah, like I said, hi guys, I'm Tyler Helbin. I'm a Life Scout in Troop 189, and I was trying to figure out what to do for an Eagle project. So I sat down one day, and I was on YouTube, and I saw a video, and it was called "To This Day" by Shane Kozan, and it was a spoken word poem, and it was about bullying, and it just inspired me so much because it just makes you cry, because this guy just uses unbelievable examples in the video. And what I want you guys to take up whenever the video is shown, I want you guys to hopefully have it healthy with bullying. I want you guys to know who you can talk to if you're bullied, what types of bullying there are. And I want you guys to just have a positive attitude after you watch this film. And I want you guys to know that you guys can get through bullying no matter who you are. Also, another thing that inspired me was I'm in broadcasting at Carlisle High School. I make videos. And usually, Eagle Scouts make benches, birdhouses, or something like that. And I said, I don't want to do that. And so I was looking at some of the requirements or some of the things that I could have done, and I saw a video that helps the community. And so I decided to do this. And like Mr. Shirley said, it took a year to make, and it was just so difficult to make. But you'll see that some of the kids in this film are sitting in this room that were actors. So yeah, I want you guys to be respectful about that. And also in the video, there was a point in the video where kids were interviewed, and some of the kids are in this room. So whenever you guys watch that interview, or watch those interviews, I want you guys to be respectful. I want you guys to not laugh. I want you guys to think, well, how would you feel if you had to be interviewed and someone laughed about whenever you were bullied? So I want you guys to begin with that, but I hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope it helps you. Very good. Thank you for watching that. And yeah, it took a lot of hard work, but I wanted to talk to you guys about some things that happened to me that I didn't address in the video just because of time. So, like I said in the video, I was bullied so much in elementary school and middle school. I wanted to tell you some of the things that happened. So, when I was around 3rd grade, I was at the YMCA. And this is one kid that hated my guts. And we were swimming one time. And I was just swimming, minding my own business. And next thing you know, he jumped on me. And he tried to drag me to the bottom of the pool and drown me. And to get free, I ended up kicking him in a place that no one wants to get kicked. Well, maybe we get free. But he had cut me. And I went and I told counselors there, whoever ran it, and they didn't do anything about it. Nothing. He didn't get in trouble. Didn't even have a word spoken on it. And then, in 8th grade, my last year at the middle school, I was sitting in math class, and I needed to get an algebra book because I had missed a day and I was in class, and the teacher had left the classroom, and I needed to get a book. Unfortunately for me, the entire class hated me, so they decided to find all the algebra books in the classroom and put covers on them so I didn't know what was an algebra book and what wasn't. So when I did this, obviously I'm walking around trying to find a book, and the whole class is making fun of me. And eventually I find one, and the kid that was sitting at the back of the class stood up, he looked at me and he said, "Yo man, you're so stupid, why don't you just do your family a favor and just shoot yourself?" Being an 8th grader, obviously, take that pretty hard. Obviously I cried. And I told the teachers, and I don't know what happened to him, but I know he got in big trouble. So the point of that is, to get through bullying, to get past that, it was really difficult. But one of the main points to get through bullying is to believe in yourself. You get picked on for your glasses, you get picked on for like in a kid's show, you get picked on for the way you walk, all of that. It doesn't matter. The main matter is that think of yourself the way you want to be. It doesn't matter what anyone else says. You can be anything you want. You can be an NFL player, you can be an astronaut, you could be a guy in broadcasting making videos like this. Secondly, I talked to people. Whenever I was bullied, I didn't really talk to people because I was so shy. Obviously, whenever you're bullied and you have almost no friends, you don't know who to talk to. So eventually, I talked to teachers and I talked to parents, and that really helped me. If any of you guys are bullied in here, go and talk to someone, because holding it in, like I said in the video, it ends badly. There have been a lot of bad things that have happened in the past couple of years that whenever kids were bullied, and I don't want that to ever happen to any of you guys. Thirdly, one of the biggest things is whenever I started to have friends. Whenever people realize that I'll be friends with them no matter what, they realize I don't try to be cool, I don't wear a hat that says swag every 5 seconds or anything like that, And that really helps because you know that you can have people that you can rely on that aren't just your parents. People, especially friends you have that got bullied themselves. You can talk to them and they'll genuinely understand and won't just be like that fake, I understand, it'll be that they went through the same thing that you went through. And I made this video to help you guys with that. And so far it's turned out pretty good. I posted it on YouTube, and I got a comment in the comment section, and it said, "Thank you for making this so much. This is the best Eagle Scout project a Scout could ever do. Bullying is a disease, and it needs to be stopped. You helped me so much with bullying." So, secondly too, the video that I made, it caught the interest of ABC 27. So now it's going to be on the news. So the main message I want to give for you guys too is, I know in here there's some people that make fun of other kids. I can guarantee you that at one point in your guys' lives that you bullied somebody once. You gotta admit that. But I want you guys, if you're a victim too, to realize that school doesn't last forever. And if you talk to people now about bullying, it'll set you up for a great future. Because whenever I finally got over bullying and stopped it, I felt so great because 1, I had friends. 2, I learned I can just be who I am. And 3, being who I am ended up me doing this and getting the news involved. So, yeah, there's that. And, so I you guys for watching, and you guys were a great audience.
Tyler talked about some very harsh things that happened to him. And I think that a couple of times, just from the way you were telling the story now, I think it seemed pretty, I can't think of the word for it, just like there was no end in sight for it. That it was a problem, and where you are today is where it's always going to be when it's bad. If I would have known back then that you felt like the entire math class hated you, I would have argued that. I don't think there's any way all class. But my point is, it seemed pretty bad. So, small of you, the three things he talked about were he started believing in himself, and I'm going to say he stopped sort of apologizing for being who he is. He talked about it, and he made friends. Are there any bronies in here? Just one brony? You'll have to check it out. Okay. Three. Thank you. So Tyler's here to serve as an example of creating positive changes also. It's very, very easy to be critical of people. It's very, very easy to complain. Very, very hard and valuable to get behind a cause that benefits other people. What was something that he said was a positive outcome of this project? I mean, it's brand new. He's just sort of released it. What's one of the things he said that's positive? Do you remember what he said?
He got on the news.
What's that?
He got on the news.
He got on the news? Yep. It's about to air. But yeah, he's got the attention of the local newscaster. Very popular one. Jess, what's another benefit?
He got a really good comment on YouTube.
Yeah. And what was that like to get that good comment?
I mean, it's like pretty much for any video we make on YouTube. Whenever you get a good comment on YouTube, it's like you just struck like $1 million. It's because you realize that the person doesn't know you at all, and they watch something that you made, and the fact that I helped someone that has no idea who I am, it just feels amazing.
So I was thinking we would give a question mark. Oh, go ahead. What are you going to say that's connected?
Like a tough person.
Yeah. Yeah, so it'd be easy to criticize something like this, and it is nerve-wracking when you have a work of art that you put together that put it out there publicly. It takes a lot of courage to do what Tyler did. The third thing that I don't think you mentioned was Mr. Wysocki, who's the ninth grade principal, is going to see that every school in our district gets a copy of this video. So his message is going to reach all 5,000 people in Carlisle School District. That's just an applause. You may have missed this bit of information about his video, but he pulled information from the Highmark Foundation's anti-bullying kit, which is a very widely used and very well respected resource for schools, for parents, and for students in relation to bullying. So he talked about a couple of things, and I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions, and we're going to field some answers. So he talked, the Highmark kit featured information that was in his video, and it talked about types of bullying, causes of bullying. One thing I really want to pay close attention to was it talked about a survey of students. So it asked 12,000 students questions, and they were close to you in age. This is the beauty of mathematics and statistics. You're not asking one person, and that sets the rules for everybody. You're asking thousands of people, and then you're getting an idea or a trend. So out of those 12,000 people, about, I think it was 1,600 said they themselves were victims of bullying. So you get all perspectives in this survey. They asked about the least and the most effective ways to deal with a bully, and that's what I was going to ask you about. Find a partner, stay seated, look around, who you're going to talk to. One of the least effective ways that people felt, one of the ways that people felt was the least effective in dealing with the bully was to tell the bully how you feel. So turn to your partner and talk for a minute about whether you think that's a good idea or a bad
I
effective strategy. Okay, put your hands down. Anybody that feels it's a good idea, what's the upside of that approach? There is one. Not sure, maybe? What do you think? Tell them how you feel you're not fighting back. Yeah? Okay. So it's a way to respond to it that's not really fighting back.
They will know that what they're doing is like hurting other people.
Right. That would be a way to tell them how they're coming across. I do that a lot, but not in situations where I feel like I'm being bullied or picked on. What do you think? What's the upside to telling?
Good. Like it would probably like when you're coming up on shoes and someone's a bully that they might like put themselves in your shoes and see like how that would feel on them if they do that and like stop it.
Okay, so you'd be teaching them a lesson on taking somebody's perspective. Yeah. Okay, so how many of you think that would not be effective and why? Okay, who's sitting in front of Sam? I don't know your name.
Tyler?
Yeah, kind of, that's right.
That they might do it more because they know that you don't like it.
They might do it more because they know that, yeah, that you don't like it. What do you think?
They would basically see that they know how to feel and they know it's working, so they continue.
Yeah, it'd be a way to keep them going. Okay. Caleb? Casey, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It would make it more balanced because like you're telling them how you feel and they're not really gonna take it like it's a good thing. They're not gonna take it like, oh, I hurt their feelings. They're gonna like they're just gonna tell you who cares about what you feel. I'm just gonna keep it.
Right. If you remember Brooks Gibbs at the beginning of our school year, he talked about this exact response. I'm looking at all the One Direction fans here. Forget about One Direction for a second. I think that's possible. But Brooks Gibbs talked about the idea of a slot machine. And if you know anything about gambling, maybe you've seen it on TV. Hopefully nobody here is gambling yet. A slot machine, you would pull a lever, and most of the time there's no response. But if you're working on a slot machine, you pull a lever, and then all sorts of bells go off, and lights start flashing, and money starts pouring out, you're probably going to keep using that machine. And he talked about that with bullying in terms of if you have a really strong reaction, tell them how hurt you feel, that can sometimes encourage you to keep going. Okay, another thing that they talked about that was an effective way to deal with it would be to talk to an adult that you trust or a person your own age. So I would like you to take a few seconds and discuss that with somebody close to you. Good idea, bad idea. Good approach, bad approach. Talking to an adult or a Okay, 3. We'll start with the positive. What is the upside to that approach? You talk to some adult that you trust or a peer. What's the upside of that?
Excuse this interruption for a brief afternoon announcement. 7th and 8th grade girls Powder Cup is canceled for this week. Thank you.
Okay, if you talk to a peer, okay, the bullying could possibly stop. We're talking about the advantages of this approach. Anybody, what do you think? Okay, yeah, you could notify someone of authority. I could handle it. Does anybody else see like an adult or an upside to this approach? What do you think?
Normally people will take adults more seriously
Yeah.
than kids, and also adults have more access to like different resources. Then when they talk to more people that they know, it's like they make it more official part of the week.
Tyler talked about the YMCA. I think another time where adults really didn't listen to him. And what did you do, Tyler?
I really didn't handle it well in that case. Yeah, never.
Well, they responded how? You went to an adult and were these adults you feel like you could trust, you could go to?
At first I thought, so, because, obviously, they run the YMCA, they must, they must do something about bullying, but they didn't, so.
Okay, so you stayed with it though, you eventually found somebody that would listen to you and help you. in the interest of time, I want to end us on kind of like a lighthearted, sort of exciting note. And I have queued up, another approach would be to make a joke out of things. And I'm standing in front of incredibly witty, intelligent young adults. So I never want to see people like get into a fight and have it get physical when you've got such a great resource in your minds. So I'm going to play this video of Brooks Gibbs going through a role play of how to approach a bully. But before I do that, I would like us to show our gratitude with an applause for Tyler getting Okay, freeze! Get Arctica in here, your muscles are frozen, you can't even talk. We're going to take some time now and actually turn it over to Tyler. He's going to talk a little bit about his experience here, overcoming that. The root of this is going to be his inspiration for a project like this because he's trying to create positive changes here. And I give him a lot of credit. This takes a lot of courage to do that. After that, I'll have some questions for you. If we have time left, I've got a really cool video on friends and enemies. So go ahead, Tyler.
Thank you guys for watching that and being respectful. It did take a lot of work. But yeah, like I said in the video, I got bullied like just so much in middle school and elementary school. And some of the things that I didn't say in the video at the time, whenever I was in the 3rd grade, I was at the YMCA, and a kid that hated my guts, he just didn't even want to look at me. I was swimming in the pool, and I was just minding my own business, and he ran into the pool, and he jumped on top of me, and he tried to drown me, and he started punching me. He ended up cutting me. I ended up escaping by kicking him in a place that no one wants to be kicked. And I went and I told the person that ran the YMCA, and they didn't do anything about it. So I had to live with that and have no one help. So that's why I said in the video, whenever you guys get bullied, don't be afraid to tell someone about it. Don't be afraid of saying, oh, he's a snitch, because if you just let it go, bad things will happen. And I don't want that to ever happen to any of you. I'm sure you guys are really good kids, but I'm sure that some of you in here are bullies. And I'm sure that some of you in here are the victims. And whenever I made this video, I wanted to make it so that bullies would realize what's happening. That's why I did these interviews of the actors and how they were actually bullied. Because I wanted to make it so that they would realize that and they would stop. Another thing that happened, whenever I was in 8th grade, I said it all in the video, I was in math class, and Miss Mullis was the teacher at that time. And she had left the class. And I missed a school assignment, so I had to get a book. Unfortunately, the class I was in, everyone hated me in that class. So I couldn't find a book, and they took that time to make it really fun for me to try to find that book. So they put baby description.
Which bin?
Yeah, the classmates took that time to find all the algebra books where I was looking and put cases on them, so I had no idea what was an algebra book or what was any other book. So I was trying to find them, and the entire class was laughing at me. And whenever I finally found it, the kid in the corner of the class stood up, and he told me flat out, he said, "Young man, you're so stupid. Why don't you just do your family a favor and just shoot yourself?" So, whenever he said that, obviously, 8th grade, I bulbed my eyes out. And I told, pretty much everyone found out about it, all the teachers. And I don't know what happened to him, but he got in big trouble. So, I don't want to leave you guys on a sad note, but I want you guys to think about just bullying in general. If you're a bully, stop bullying. There's really no point. It doesn't matter if a kid, likes My Little Pony. It doesn't matter if a kid gets made fun of his glasses. It doesn't matter if he's a midget. Everyone has a heart. And I was in middle school a few years ago, and whenever a guest speaker would come here, I would be like, I don't care about this. Why am I here? So I'm happy that you guys were respectful and listening. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Tyler? And he can talk about the high school. I think a lot of what he was talking about, many of us in here can relate to. Has anybody ever, let me ask this, he talked about the video. Has anybody ever seen someone get made fun of, and that person who's being made fun of didn't know about it? Okay. Tyler was talking about his video who had trouble speaking, and he was being picked on, and that led to, and he didn't realize that he was even being picked on. Tyler, you talked about being an active observer or a defender, and I have a question for people of 7W. One of the things they talked about that was not effective in terms of what you can do if you're being bullied was tell the bully how you feel. And I know Brooks Gibbs at the beginning of the year talked about this. So why, turn to the person beside you. Telling a bully how you feel, is that a good, is that a helpful approach or a less than helpful?
Don't tell me that. That's
Where are we? Raise your hand if you think it is a good idea to tell the person picking on you how you feel. How many of you think it is a bad idea to tell that person how you feel? Put your hands up. If you remember Brooks Gibbs in the beginning of the school year, he talked about that a lot, that if you're letting them know that they're getting to you, that can have a very negative effect. Either of you guys that thought telling the bully how you feel is a good thing, do you support that idea? Is that something you just kind of feel like it's a good idea? Why might it be an ineffective way to deal with bullying if you tell them how you feel? Think back to Brooks Gibbs or other ideas you have. Kobe?
Because then they know like what bothers you and like how they can bully you.
Okay. Do you have any connections, either of you guys?
No, but I can.
They can use it against you? Yeah. Great answers, guys. This is spot on. He talked about a slot machine. Do you remember that comparison? You're being picked on, and you're letting them, and you're giving a really strong reaction. That person's going to come back to you. If you are into gambling and nobody here is old enough, a lot of times what happens is people play a slot machine and they pull that arm, and when the bells go off and there's a huge response from that machine, you're going to keep playing with that machine because it just gave you what you were looking for. So that was listed as an ineffective way. I'm going to put Tyler on the spot again in a minute. One of the things that they talked about being helpful to people was to talk to a friend or a parent. So discuss amongst yourselves. Good idea or bad idea to talk to a friend or a parent about what's going on? How many of you feel like it is a bad idea to talk to a friend or a parent? I know you're going to be good at answering this. You probably are too. Raise your hand if you think it's a bad idea to talk to a friend or a parent. How many of you think it's a good idea? Raise your hand if you think it's a good idea to talk to a friend. We're allowed to have disagreements. That's why they surveyed, what, 1,200 or 12,000 people? The majority of them said that it was a good idea to talk to a friend or a parent. How can it go bad talking to a friend or a parent? I feel like I know what you're going to say. Go ahead, Mia.
Well, if you get somebody involved, then it kind of makes it worse because then they start picking on that person and you can't really fight them out.
Yeah.
And
Okay. Yeah. So that was. You're right. It can make a bad situation worse because it gets more people involved. Do you guys have something to say connected to what she said, or do you have another idea? Okay, how many of you think it's a good idea, or what's the upside of talking to an adult or talking to a friend whenever you're being picked on? Bailey, what do you think?
If your parents and your friends know you better than other people, so maybe they can finally say,
Okay, they could give a good assessment of what you have available to help. Kyle? They may be able to step in and help stop it, yeah. But I made sure to talk to these girls first because sometimes stepping in can make things bigger and bigger. Bryce, what do you think?
If you tell an adult, they can like tell their parents, and they could get in a lot more trouble than you are.
Right, maybe talking to parents can be helpful. I do that a good bit where I'll reach out to parents because if somebody is being a bully, I probably heard that parent say, my son or daughter feels picked on. And it's interesting when I have that conversation to say, well, they're really not the victim in this situation. So talk for a minute about people that were supportive to you. And I think that's a great thing about a tragedy or a difficult time. It's an opportunity for people to show support. Tyler, who was supportive to you as you figured this out?
You know, that's like pretty much how I got through it, was talking to people. I talked to Mr. Shirley actually a lot. He helped me a lot. I talked to my mom and pretty much anyone that I thought would help me, because whenever I was in elementary school, middle school, I didn't know who I talked to, and at first I didn't talk to anyone, and that's why I kept getting bullied, because it wasn't being stopped. It was just like, oh, he's not telling anyone, so he can just keep doing it. So once I got to like about 8th grade, I started telling people about it. And once I got to high school, and this is for pretty much all you guys here. High school isn't as bad as middle school. It's not as intimidating, because usually by that point, the people that bully are going to be the future criminals of the world. So, I mean, and there's less people bullying for stupid reasons. Oh, you have a red pencil, I have a blue pencil. Your red pencil sucks. That kind of thing. So yeah, you guys just talk to anyone that you think could help you. Talking to counselors, my mom, parents, pretty much anyone, and that helped me. And also, once I got to high school, I realized that it doesn't matter what people say about you. You can feel down, but as long as you have that one friend that can support you, that helps. That helps and makes all worthwhile.
What I'm thinking we'll do in the interest of time, though, is kind of wrap up. Does anybody have any questions for Tyler about his story or about the high school? Or
just general questions about the high school, like homework, anything like that.
Tyler, do you have a next step in mind? Do you want to promote a message or anything?
Well, the next step actually was this video got noticed by ABC 27, so it's going to be on the news. So that really helps, make it multiple people obviously able to see it more than just the school. And also, Mr. Wysocki, the 9th grade principal at the high school, is going to spread it to schools all over Carlisle, and most likely probably just to everywhere across Pennsylvania, which is what I hope. And I put it on YouTube, and I actually just got a comment a day ago about it. And the person said, "Thank you for making this video so much. It helped me so much. Bullying is a disease that needs to be stopped. This is the best Eagle Scout service project than anyone could have ever done." So that really made me feel really good.
Yeah, I think it's so he's using social media to help him impact positive change in people. I'm just curious, how many of you guys worked with the challenge last week in 24 hours, no social media? Did anybody in here do it? Wow.
Okay. Okay.
I really hope that this makes you guys, think about this. Because bullying is, really big in the world. It's not just, a cheesy word, bullying. It's kids, some of them can't get through it, and some of them end up doing really bad things to stop it. So I hope you guys do whatever you can to let that not happen.
Let's give him another round of applause. It takes a lot of courage. I've known Tyler when he came here. He's actually assigned to Mr. Travis, but we got to know each other. We're going to close out with a little refresher course from Brooks Gibbs. Another piece of advice in Tyler's video was about how to make a joke of things. And Brooks, if you remember, is an expert at this. So I'm going to play this for a few minutes. Thank you guys for your attention. Do you have an announcement, Mr. Shore?
Give him his Eagle Scout. #selfie.